The letter came on a bright Saturday morning, tucked under Marcus's front door like an invitation, except this one felt more like a threat. The HOA's logo was stamped in bold ink across the top, and the words inside dripped with arrogance. Dear Mr. Brooks, it has come to our attention that you are using the community lake without proper authorization. As per HOA regulations, all watercraft, docks, and shoreline usage must be approved and registered. Failure to comply will result in fines and possible suspension of lake privileges. Marcus read it twice, then slowly folded it back into the envelope. He had just moved into the lake house a month ago, eager to escape the noise of the city and spend quiet mornings fishing. The lake was why he had bought this place. It wasn't community property. It was part of the deed he signed, a private lake parcel attached to his home. And yet here was the HOA, already knocking on his door and acting like they owned the water he paid for. Later that afternoon, Marcus attended the HOA meeting to clear things up. The clubhouse was full of neighbors, murmuring and sipping coffee as the board took their seats. At the head of the table sat Karen, the president, wearing her usual smug smile. You must be Marcus, she said, her tone more command than greeting. We were just discussing your violation. Violation? Marcus asked, raising an eyebrow. You can't just take your boat out whenever you want, Karen said sharply. The lake belongs to the community. You'll need to pay the dock fees, register your boat, and schedule your usage times. Marcus calmly placed a folder on the table. Actually, he said, the lake belongs to me. Laughter rippled through the room. Karen smirked, clearly amused. That's not how it works. Mr. Brooks, the HOA manages the docks and controls lake access. You can't just show up and do as you please. Marcus opened the folder and slid a copy of his property deed across the table. You might want to read the legal description before you lecture me. That lake, including all access rights, is deeded to this property, which means I decide who uses it. The room went silent. Karen's smile froze, her eyes scanning the document. The HOA board exchanged worried glances. Marcus stood, his voice calm but firm. You came to me with demands. Consider this my response. Until further notice, the docks are closed. He left the clubhouse with every eye on him, the weight of his words settling over the room like a storm about to break. By Monday morning, chaos had spread through the neighborhood. Marcus wasn't bluffing. At sunrise, he had walked down to the shoreline with a tool belt, padlocked every dock gate, and posted laminated signs. Private property, no trespassing. Dock access suspended until further notice. By noon, the HOA group chat was blowing up. Angry neighbors complained that they couldn't launch their kayaks, that their kids couldn't swim, that the new guy had no right to lock them out. Karen saw an opportunity to make an example of him. At the next emergency meeting, she slammed her gavel against the table. This is an act of war, she declared dramatically. We cannot allow one man to hold this community hostage. If he wants to play games, then we'll fight back. Several board members hesitated. But he showed us the deed, one of them said. Legally, it sounds like he does own the lake. Karen leaned forward, her voice sharp as a knife. I don't care what his paperwork says. We've been using that lake for 15 years. Tradition counts for something. If he wants to challenge us, we'll take him to court. Word of Karen's plan reached Marcus by that evening. He didn't shout, didn't argue. He simply made another move. The next morning, heavy equipment rolled onto his property. Workers installed motion sensor lights along the shoreline, added surveillance cameras, and erected a tall wooden gate with a new sign. Lake access by owner, permission only. The sound of hammers and drills echoed across the neighborhood, each strike reminding everyone that Marcus wasn't intimidated. Karen, fuming, marched right up to Marcus's property line with two board members in tow. You can't just do this, she shouted. The lake belongs to all of us. Marcus stepped onto the porch, his posture calm but commanding. No, Karen, he said, holding up the deed again. It belongs to me. And if you try to trespass again, I'll have the sheriff involved. Karen's face turned red. You're making enemies you don't want to have, Mr. Brooks. Marcus didn't flinch. I'm not here to make enemies. I'm here to live in peace. But if you keep pushing, you'll find out exactly how much control I have over this lake. The HOA retreated, but Marcus could feel the storm building. Karen wouldn't stop, and he wasn't about to back down. The lake had become the battlefield and both sides were digging in. Karen wasn't used to losing. 2 days after Marcus locked the docks, she called an HOA-wide town hall meeting in the clubhouse. The room buzzed with angry chatter, and Karen stood at the front like a general rallying her troops. "This is our lake," she said, slamming a stack of papers onto the table. "He can't just shut us out. I've spoken to a lawyer. We're filing for an injunction tomorrow morning. We'll force him to remove those locks and restore access." A few neighbors cheered, but some were nervous. "Karen," an older man said from the back, "if the deed really is in his name, we could lose. And if we lose, the HOA will be liable for legal fees. We can't afford another lawsuit, not after the last one." Karen's jaw tightened. "Then we raise fees, special assessment, whatever it takes. We are not letting one man take what's ours." Marcus heard about the meeting from a neighbor who secretly disagreed with the HOA's tactics. By the time Karen filed her motion at the county courthouse, Marcus was already one step ahead. He hired his own attorney, a sharp, battle-tested real estate litigator named Rachel Hayes, who moved fast. The very next morning, Karen received a thick envelope on her doorstep, a cease and desist order warning the HOA to stop harassing Marcus or face legal consequences. Karen's fury boiled over. That weekend, she led a group of HOA members to the docks with bolt cutters. Neighbors gathered to watch as Karen, in her HOA polo shirt, tried to cut through the first padlock. But before she could, a truck pulled up, Marcus's truck. He stepped out slowly, calm but intimidating, with Rachel at his side and a county deputy right behind them. "Step away from the dock," Rachel said firmly, holding up a court-stamped document. "You are officially trespassing on private property. Continue, and you will be arrested." Karen froze, bolt cutters still in hand. "You wouldn't dare," she hissed. The deputy stepped forward. "Ma'am, drop the cutters and step back." For a long moment, the crowd held its breath. Then Karen tossed the cutters down with a loud clatter and stormed off, muttering under her breath. But as she left, she turned and pointed at Marcus. "This isn't over," she spat. Marcus watched her go, but inside he knew she meant it. The HOA might have been humiliated today, but Karen wasn't done fighting. She'd just lost her first battle, and people like Karen never stopped until they burned everything down or got their way. Karen didn't back down. If anything, the failed dock raid made her more dangerous. Over the next 2 weeks, she flooded Marcus with threatening letters, bogus fines, and even a notice demanding he pay lake usage fees for his own property. Marcus stayed silent, letting her dig the hole deeper. What Karen didn't know was that he had been busy gathering evidence. Photos of HOA members trespassing, recordings of Karen encouraging neighbors to vandalize his locks, and copies of every harassing notice. Then came the day of the HOA's emergency board meeting. Marcus arrived uninvited, wearing a calm expression that only made Karen angrier. "You can't just walk in here," Karen snapped. "Actually," Marcus said evenly, "I can. According to county records, this clubhouse sits on land I own, which means I have more right to be here than you do." He dropped a thick folder on the table. Inside were the original property deeds, not just to his house, but to the lake, the docks, and a strip of land that included the clubhouse itself. Gasps rippled through the room. "You've been threatening me for months over property that legally belongs to me," Marcus continued. "And I have more than enough evidence to sue this HOA into bankruptcy for harassment, trespassing, and attempted theft." Karen's face drained of color. You can't do that." Rachel, Marcus's attorney, stepped forward. "Oh, he absolutely can. In fact, if your members don't want to lose their homes in court fees, you will dissolve this HOA and sign over control of the docks to Marcus immediately." The room erupted into chaos. Several neighbors turned on Karen right there, shouting about how her obsession had put them all at risk. One man slammed his fist on the table. "You told us you had this handled. Now we're about to lose the whole neighborhood." Karen tried to shout over them, but the crowd wasn't on her side anymore. By the time the shouting stopped, the board had voted. The HOA was disbanded. A week later, Marcus unlocked the docks again, this time with a new sign. "Access by permission only." Some neighbors came to shake his hand, embarrassed by what had happened. Others avoided him entirely, ashamed. Karen, stripped of her HOA title, quietly sold her house and moved away. That evening, Marcus stood at the edge of the lake, watching the sun sink below the horizon. Angela, his wife, joined him. "Feels quiet now," she said softly. Marcus nodded. "That's how it should be. We didn't move here to fight. We moved here to live." The water reflected the orange glow of sunset. Calm and undisturbed, finally, the lake was his again, in every way that mattered.